We are on page 107, chapter 25. We're talking about that it is. Let's start reading it and then I'll explain. Perek Kaf-Hei. Vezehu, and this is shekatuv, that it's written in the Chumash. Moshe Rabbeinu tells it to the Jewish people, and if he tells it to us, it means it's true. Now we have to figure out how it's true. What does it tell us? Ki karov elecha, because it is very close to you. Hadavar meod, this thing is very close to you. Beficha uvilvavcha la'asoto. What is very close to you? To keep the entire Torah. He comes to the Jewish people, he says, every time I tell you to do something, you don't do it. I don't understand. Why? It's so difficult? Not that it's not so difficult. It is very, very close to you. It's very close to every Jew to keep the entire Torah all the time. That's what King David, that's what Moses said to the Jewish people. And immediately the question you want to ask, really? It's so close? We've seen throughout generations, I don't know many people who keeps the entire Torah. But if Moshe says it's very close, it's very close.
When you say keep the Torah, you mean follow all the commandments?
That's right. Never go against God. He said it's very close to you. So we already learned, before chapter 18, we already learned what is required of us. What are we required to do? We're required to sit down every day and contemplate godliness to such an extent that we change ourselves, that we become godlike, that we become like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That's what is required to each and every one of us. And even if you can't, it says not everybody can become Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You can give birth to love and awe of God to such an extent that you're not going to go against him. A person who learns Torah, who learns Kabbalah, who learns Hasidus, who contemplates about godliness constantly, every day, is not going to sin. Why? Because he sees godliness in front of him. Think about it, it's like a child who has the principal right over his shoulder. Even though the principal is not there, but he knows there's a camera around his shoulder. So does a person has to have in mind that God is looking all the time. He's not going to go against God. It's simple. That's what we learned the first. And then we said, but you know what? Most people are not going to be able to do this. How many Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochais do you know? Well, exactly. And over here it says, because to develop, we are on page 107, chapter 25, because to develop such an extent, love and awe of God, to such an extent that you're not going to sin, requires a lot of learning. It's not every person can do that. Requires a lot of depth. Not every person can do that, yes?
You can't acquire a love and awe of God through the natural wonders of the world. You have to have the Torah. And that's my question.
Very good question. So I'll just answer it shortly, and then we can continue over here. In order to love God, you need to know God. Can you love your wife if she's in another country and you never see her, you never know her, you don't know any of her qualities? Can you love her?
That's a great answer, Rabbi. Thank you.
It's impossible to love her. So the Torah tells us who God is. Otherwise, you love what? You don't love anything. Okay. So we discovered that it's not so close. But the Torah, Moses tells us, it is very close. So what are we going to do? So from chapter 18 until chapter 25, we learned about the hidden love that every Jew has for God. And this hidden love that every Jew has to God has got nothing to do with religious people. On the contrary, you can't see it by religious people. You can see it specifically by non-religious people. Because religious people, you can say they give their life away for God because they believe in the system. Not because they love God. You believe in something, you do it your entire life, you get used to it, so you give your life away for it. This is the way a Christian gives his life away to God. A Muslim gives his life to God. An American boy gives his life away for America, for the country. It has nothing. He believes in the system. When you believe in the system, you're willing to give your life. The question is, when you don't believe in the system, will you be able to give your life? The answer is no. How many Muslims in Britain go to the army? Almost none. You're right. Because they don't believe in the system. Yeah? They don't believe to fight for England. They don't believe in the idea.
And what about here in America?
I don't know. You can census. But I know in Britain it's almost non-existent. Yeah? It doesn't exist. But over here we're saying to you, there are Jews who says, I'm not religious. I don't believe in God. And throughout history, those Jews, what did they do? We saw they gave their life away for God that they didn't believe in. Yeah? In other words, they inherited something from a love to God from Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And 6-7 chapters we're already learning about that love. Yeah, that every Jew has. They inherited that love. So all you have to do, he says over here, you don't have to recreate a love of God like the first system say, like Rabbi Shimon. You already have that love in you. Every Jew has it. Even a Jew who doesn't believe in God has that love of God. That's why a Jew tells you, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, but I'm Jewish. A Christian doesn't tell you, I'm an atheist and I'm a Christian. It doesn't work the same. A Jew tells you, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist, but I'm Jewish. You're not going to take the Jewish away from me. Yeah? This is, each and every one of us has it. So that part, it says, only in order to keep the entire Torah, all you have to know is a trick in order to awaken it when you need it. When you're about to sin, awaken that love of God, because look, you're willing, every Jew is willing to die for God that he doesn't believe in. Yeah? So, awaken it. That's all we need to do. So let's start. וזהו שכתוב כי קרוב לך הדבר מאוד, this is what it's written, it is very close to you. That what? What's very close to you? To keep the Torah all the time, שבכל עת, that at any moment, ובכל שעה, and any time, בידו של אדם וברשותו, it's in the hand of the person, and under his control, להעביר רוח שטות והשכחה, to push away the foolishness and the forgetfulness. So let's take an example. I love to give this example. We're going to give it again and again and again. This is an example of Yom Kippur. And there's a Jew who woke up in the morning of Yom Kippur. In the morning, he woke up, he had a nice coffee, and he ate some bacon for breakfast, bacon and eggs, on Yom Kippur. That's how he starts Yom Kippur, because he knows he's got a long day in shul. He's going to go to shul because he has to, you know. So he comes to shul, he still has the smell of the coffee and the bacon in his breath, right? And he sits in the back, and what is he going to do in shul? He's bored, he doesn't, the davening is long, so he yaps around with the guy next to him. Like, you believe in this? It's nonsense, it's that, yes, that's nonsense. So what are you doing here? He says, it's not me, it's my culture. I don't really believe in it, but my culture, it's because of that I'm here. And then the stupid rabbi, because the rabbi doesn't know halacha, calls him up to the Torah. And the guy goes up to the Torah, says, maybe he should. He goes up to the Torah anyway, it's Yom Kippur. So he goes up to the Torah, and as he's about to go up to the Torah, a non-Jew comes in with a gun, puts a gun into his head, puts bacon next to the Sefer Torah, and tells him, eat it. So all of a sudden, this Jew that ate bacon this morning, drank coffee this morning, He's looking at the Nanji and says, I'm not eating it. So he says, you don't eat it, I'll shoot you. He says, you can do whatever you want. So the Nanji is asking me, you idiot, you ate it this morning? He says, yeah, I ate it this morning. It says, between me and you're going to eat it tomorrow? I'm going to eat it tomorrow. So why aren't you eating it now? I'm going to kill you. He can't. He loves God to such an extent that he's willing to die for God. So the question, if you love God because you don't want to separate from him, even for 1 second, why do we constantly, every day, separate from God? All the time. Because a Ruach Shtut, this is because the Ruach Shtut, the spirit of folly, comes to tell you, you're still Jewish. What happened? So what? If you did this, you're not Jewish. You're still Jewish. Nothing died. Excuse me. So what? So if I speak Lashon Hara, I start being Jewish? No, I'm still Jewish. That's the spirit of folly telling you. The truth is that there's 2 commandments. And there's only 2 commandments. There's the commandment of I am the Lord your God, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. And that commandment means that throughout the day, because God is your Lord, God is your master, you're supposed to serve him. When? Throughout the day, you're supposed to serve him. And every mitzvah that comes into your hand, you're supposed to bring godliness down into this world. And then there's another mitzvah. Lo yeh lecha elokim achrim al panai. You should not have any other gods in front of you besides me. And every time we go against God, we speak Lashon Hara, for example, we are lazy about doing something, for example, what happens? We are cutting away ourselves from God. We're not living with godliness anymore. We're not having the godly life in us like we learned in the past seven chapters. You're against God. You're not receiving your life from God. You're receiving the life lower than a pig is receiving his life. Like we explained before. But your spirit, the Ruach Shtut, your spirit of folly tells you, don't worry. You're still Jewish. And by the way, what's the proof that you're cutting yourself for God? Because there's 2 ways to cut yourself away from God. Cutting away from you for God, in Hebrew, it's called kares. Kares means to cut away from God. You're not receiving sustenance from God anymore. So either you do a severe sin once, you can get cut away from God. Or there's a better way. You can do small little sins, not severe, but many times. And every time, it's a nick. It's a nick in the rope. It's a nick in the rope. It's a nick. You do it enough times, you're also cutting away from God. It's exactly the same kares. So over here, you tell yourself, I'm still Jewish. And in reality, you're not. It's just as much as kares as murder, as any other sin that gives kares. So the spirit of folly tells you what? It tells you, don't worry, you're still Jewish. And we need to have enough strength to awaken our love of God in us that we all have to tell, I'm not God. Just like the Jew on Yom Kippur awakened it, 1 second. Just like the Jew on Yom Kippur awakened his love away to God and was willing to die from it, we should be willing to die not to be cut away from God. Yes.
But you're always going to stay a Jew. That's the thing. That's what we learn. The Jews always, you can convert, you cannot do anything. Yes, you can get karet, averot sheyesh karet, but you can repent.
Excellent, very good. So why doesn't the Jew on Yom Kippur says, I'll eat the bacon and I'll repent? Why doesn't he say that?
Because in that moment, God is in the room with him. He feels it.
Because the truth is that if you feel that you are sustained from something but godliness, you will not do it. When you cut, imagine like this. Imagine a marriage, right? Imagine a marriage. And in the marriage, your wife tells you, I'm not going to go with another man, because that's the end of the marriage. But I'll kiss him. I'll hug him many, many times. Not just once. Many, many times. We're not going to have relationships. This is what we do. We come to God.
No, I get it, but
So the question is, why is she doing it? Because her spirit of folly tells you this is not cheating. I'm still married.
there's a way around.
I'm still married. It tells you, so what? So I got a massage by another guy.
Do nothing.
I didn't do nothing. I'm still married. I'm still Jew. The marriage is still in effect. That's what she tells. In truth, it's not in effect. The marriage is gone. Yeah? When she feels the marriage is gone, she's not going to do it. So she's not going to have relationships because that's completely. But things that she thinks, maybe it is, but it's the same thing. Okay? Because it's the spirit of folly telling you, you're still married, everything is good. By the way, we do the same thing with the wife. Every time we lie to our wives, yeah, every time, not talking like lie to protect her, lie to protect the other thing, you go against the marriage. Every time. Yeah? And we do it, and we do it, and we don't have a problem. Why? Because we're still married.
You do what to your marriage?
You're not married. You're not married at that moment.
Oh, you're not.
At that moment, you're not married. But in our mind, if we cheat with somebody, other lady, then we're not married. But if we just lie, we just don't talk nicely, we just this, we're still married. Yeah? The truth is, at that moment, you are not married. Maybe you're going to become married again later. You reapply the marriage. But at the moment you do the sin, you're not married. What about that guy on Yom Kippur? Why can't he say, let's think about it now, why can't he say, you know what, I'll eat bacon, later on I'll be married again. How come he doesn't say it? Because he knows it's against the marriage. He's not going to do it. But let's continue. We're going to get back to your question also. וזה שכתוב הוא בלבבך, and this is what it's written, and in your heart. In other words, you have to have that feeling in your heart. I'm not going to go against the marriage. I'm not going to go against God. Even in small things. It's either all or everything. Either I have a marriage with God or I am not married to God. If I have a marriage with God, every positive commandment I do, and if I'm not, and every negative commandment I stay away from. What do you mean? It goes against the marriage. The negative commandment goes against the marriage. I'm not going to go against God. At that moment I'm doing it, I'm not married to him anymore. See, there's a difference though. In our mind tells you, if we cheat on God with another woman, with idol worship, then we're not going to do it. But if we cheat a little bit, then we can go back to our marriage. It's not a deal breaker.
That's what we do every day.
That's what we do every day. So we have to have the mentality, it's either you're with God or you're against him. And you have to awaken that mentality inside of you. How? You already have. We already have that hidden love of God, and now we're going to work on it. It's going to discuss how in this chapter. This is the whole chapter discussing how. Okay? And you should know that in that love of God, nechlal ba gam dechilu. It's included in her also fear. The love that every Jew has from God that we inherited from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it's not only love, it's also fear. Let's discuss this. See, people think the reason why we do mitzvahs, commandments, is because of love of God. And the reason why we stay away from sin is because from the fear of God. Let's do one more thing and then I'm going to explain. Dehainu, which means, שלא להיפרד בשום אופן, it includes in it that the person is not willing to ever, in those uncertain ways, to get separated מייחודו ואחדותו יתברך, from the unity with God. אפילו במסירת נפש ממש, even if he has to give his life away to God, בלי שום טעם ושכל מושג, without any understanding. You know to what level it can be? See, I made the story easy when the goy comes and puts a gun into his head. and tells him, I'm going to shoot you. That's an easy one. Most people are going to say no. I can get it more difficult. He doesn't put the gun into his head. He says, you don't eat it? You see your wife and 2 children? I'm going to shoot them. He still won't eat it. He can't. Because he can't separate from God. That's what it means. Bli shum tam v'sechel. And if you ask him, but it doesn't make sense. You ate bacon this morning. Tells you, yeah. Says, you know, and we know that you're going to eat bacon next week.
Wait a minute. I thought you could sin to save life.
There's 3 sins you may not, which is discussed. Idol worship. So the bacon, maybe you're right. Yeah? But the guy tells you to do avodah zarah and idol worship. I tell you what the problem in Shul and Yom Kippur. Shul on Yom Kippur, you're making a statement. You're making a statement that I am not Jewish. That's the statement you're making. In other words, you're saying, I am against God. And that the person is not able to do. But you're right. Technically, if there's not 10 people, but over there's 10 people, so he has to give his life away anyway. It's called, but technically you're right. Use the example of idol worship then. Or use the example of murder. Or use the example, there's 3 things. Idol worship, murder, or adultery. Somebody tells you, be with a married woman, or I'll kill you. People are not going to do it. They feel wrong. Except the times that Yetzer Hara says, you're still Jewish. Okay? Bli shum tam v'sechel musag. Over here, he doesn't have any logic. You can ask me, you can tell him it's logical. Why are you dying? It doesn't make sense for him to die. He ate bacon this morning. He's going to eat bacon yesterday. He doesn't know. It's the hidden love was awakened by him. So it's our job, if we can get to that state all the time, it's good. Now we can do it. בטבע אלוקים. בטבע אלוקים. וכל שכן, success, and what's harder? Now make a calculation. What's harder? When you have a desire to speak Lashon Hara, not to speak Lashon Hara, or to give your life away for God?
What's harder?
Yeah.
Not speak Lashon Hara.
Not speak Lashon Hara is much easier. Much easier.
Easier, yeah.
Yeah, it's easier. You're not dying. There's no suffering. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Stop, is what I said.
Yeah, that's right. וכל שכן, and how much more so, בשבירות התאווה הקלה. Maybe, you know it's mincha. You know it's time to daven mincha. You don't feel like davening today. I davened yesterday. Mincha is not so important. I'm not going to daven mincha today. Yeah? How difficult is to get some energy and to do it? It's not that difficult. So look what happens. The person is willing to die for God, but he's not willing to fight for mincha. How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. That's right. It doesn't make sense. בשבירת התאווה הקלה. This is breaking small desires. And that's easier מייסורי מיתה, from experiencing death. שקרוב אליו הדבר יותר. It is much easier for a person לכבוש היצר, to conquer his inclination. Tells you, you're tired. Don't get up in the morning. So don't worry about it. Yeah. הן בבחינת סור מרע, whether it comes to stay away from evil, or אפילו מעבירה קלה של דברי סופרים. Even from a little sin of only the rabbis, it's not from the Torah, שלא לעבור על רצונו יתברך, not to go against God, God forbid. Why? Because he realizes that either you're for God, if you're for God, you're united with godliness, and then you've got God giving you life, or you do the opposite, then it's that at that moment you get energy from anti-godliness. It's not like you don't receive your power from God. You're constantly fighting against God. Think about it. Either you help Israel in the fight in the army, or a negative commandment. You know what the negative commandment is? It's not that it doesn't help Israel. Sitting down and not doing anything doesn't help Israel. A negative commandment is buying arms and giving it to Hamas to kill us. This is a negative commandment. You're going against God himself. You're bringing anti-godliness down into this world. מאחר שנפרד בה מייחודו ואחדותו. Is completely separated from God. כמו בעבודה זרה ממש. There's no difference between this and idol worship. Except one thing. There is a difference. Where is there no difference? There's no difference at the time that you do it. There's a difference after. And I'll explain what I'm saying. You know, in the marriage, when you cheat, not you, when a person cheats on his wife, at that moment he's not married. He's not married. Don't say you're married and you're cheating on your wife. Don't call it marriage. That's not called marriage. When you act nasty to your wife, you're snippy with your wife, you're also not married at the time that you do it. The difference is that your wife forgives for being snippy. Your wife, God, you know there's no forgiveness for idol worship. That's not true. God forgives on everything. You can do tshuva for idol worship also. You can even do tshuva for murder. You can do tshuva for gilui arayot, for adultery. So the question is now, doesn't make sense now. If you can do tshuva for everything, you can go back to the marriage. Why are you giving your life away? So let's continue inside. כמו בשעת מעשה, at the time that you're doing the act, you're completely against the marriage. והרי, and behold, but that is understood. גם בעבודה זרה יכול לעשות תשובה אחר כך. Also in idol worship, a person can do tshuva. It's true you're not supposed to, but a person who did idol worship, אין דבר העומד בפני התשובה. Nothing stands in front of tshuva. You can do tshuva for everything. There were plenty of people who did idol worship and did tshuva afterwards. Nothing strange. So he tells you, oh, maybe this is why. It's not going to work, but he tries a way to get out of it, to explain it. ואף שהאומר אחטא ואשוב, there's a statement that says that the person who says, I will sin, and then I will do tshuva, but by the way, this is not our case over here. See, most cases when people sin, they don't say, I'll sin and do tshuva. They're just too weak. We are just too weak. That's why we don't do it. And just by the way that you should know, even a person that says, I will sin, what's the big deal? I have an opportunity, look at this woman. She's very nice. I know she's my friend's wife, but like it says about the forbidden fruit, it's good for the eyes. It looks good for the eyes, so I might as well go for it. But then the guy says, no, I shouldn't. You know what happens? It's I'm going to get a punishment. And then it stops him. So he says that then he's got an idea. I'm going to get a punishment. Don't worry about it. I'll do a sin, and then I'll do tshuva later on. This is the example that he's talking about. Most of the time, this is not what happens. Most of the time, the person doesn't think, I will sin and I will do tshuva. He just flows. He just flows with the sin. But he says, even in such a case, that the person says, Echta ve'ashuv, I will sin and then I will do tshuva. And the Gemara says, En maspikin beyado. We don't, maspikin beyado means we don't kind of make it possible for him. We don't make it possible for him. But look at the words. It doesn't say he can't. What does it mean, and maspikin biyado? Let's just discuss this a little bit because it's important to know. It's general knowledge. Whenever a person sins, regular sin, God is going to make it possible for him to do tshuva. Always. God gives him opportunities later on in life to do tshuva for that sin. He's going to he's going to give it opportunities throughout his life. Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. He's always going to bring into his life opportunities for him to conquer his evil inclination so he can fix the tshuva. God was. It says about a person.
Even if he did it on purpose, you know what?
Yeah.
And I will do it.
Oh, very good. If a person says, Echta ve'ashuv, I will sin and I will do tshuva, it says God doesn't give him opportunities. That's what it means. And maspikim biyado, God doesn't give him an opportunity to do tshuva. That doesn't mean he can't do. If he decides, but he needs to do it, God is not going to awaken him. He needs to do it by himself. What? Even Acher. There's a story. What?
Hashem took him out of the Yuma. Boom.
Yeah, but I say, even in cases like Acher, I'll tell you what the Rabbi Meir had Elisha ben Abuya. Yeah. So his name was Acher. The reason why he was Acher because he was so knowledgeable, the rabbi of Rabbi Meir, that they didn't want to give him even the title Jew. They used to call him Acher, just like Davar Acher for pig. This is the other side. There's godliness, and this guy is the other side. So it says about Rabbi Meir that Rabbi Meir learned most of his Torah from Acher. And a lot of it after Acher went off the way.
Meir Baal Nes.
Yeah, Rabbi Meir Baal Nes learned. Oh, very good. That's right. Very good. So there's a story like this. Rabbi Meir is walking from. Acher is coming to visit Rabbi Meir on Shabbos. On a horse. Very good. Acher is coming to Rabbi Meir on Shabbos, coming to shul, they're sitting down, they're having Shabbos, and then Acher leaves after Shabbos on a horse. Not supposed to ride a horse on Shabbos, right? Rabbi Meir, to honor his rabbi, walks along with him. So he goes from one town to another town, and there's an idea in Shabbat of Tchum Shabbat, amount of mileage you're allowed to go out of town. Now, just imagine, Rabbi Meir is so in tune with Torah. This is when he doesn't keep it. He's so in tune with Torah. Sorry, thank you. Acher is so in tune with Torah that once they reach a certain point, he tells Rabbi Meir, you're not allowed to walk more from here. Tachzor becha. In other words, go back. Tachzor becha, go back. So Rabbi Meir tells Acher, Ata tachzor becha. You go back. So Rabbi Acher says, didn't you hear? So Rabbi Meir says, didn't I hear what? He says, on Yom Kippur, didn't you hear the bat kol? There was a bat kol on Yom Kippur. So he says, no, what bat kol? So he says, I'll tell you what the bat kol. On Yom Kippur, I was walking with my horse in the back of the Beis HaMikdash. And a bat kol, a heavenly voice came out and says, Shuvu banim shovevim shuvu. It says, return my wayward kids, return. Chutz me'acher. Except Acher. I don't want you. That's what he heard. See, in other words, he says, Acher says, I don't have a way to go back. And over here, the Gemara continues, says, the Gemara continues, if he would have pushed, he would have been able to. Even Acher, even at that Azeu, even because Acher is very problematic. He's not just chote, he's not sinning. Who machti et harabim. Everybody is learning from him. If such a sage can act this way, everybody can do it. If he can do it, then for sure I can do it. So, and he says even Acher could have done it. And even that, you can do tshuva. So why doesn't the guy... Yeah. And you can just do tshuva. On everything you can do tshuva. היינו שאין מחזיקים ידו, it means that we don't give him an opportunity להיות לו שעת הכושר. To give him an opportunity, a kosher time to do tshuva. לעשות tshuva, to do tshuva.
But it doesn't mean he can't.
אבל אם דחק השעה, but if he pushed, if he put some energy in it, אם דחק השעה, ועשה תשובה, and he did תשובה, there's a rule, אין לך דבר שעומד בפני התשובה. There's nothing.
You know what?
Of course he did. But he learned it already from God. He wanted to, I can explain it a little bit, it's not our just the point. The Bat Kol said, Acher cannot do tshuva. He didn't say his name cannot do tshuva. As long as you Acher, as long as you remained Acher, the Acher is part of you. That's right, then you can. It's not an issue of Abuya, I think it's somebody else, yes.
So, isn't the purpose of Yom Kippur is to do Shiva for all the sins you did the year through the year, right?
We're going to, that is, there's another part of the Tanya, it's called Igeret Tshuva, that discusses what Yom Kippur is all about. We'll get to it. We'll get to it in its time. By the way, it's not so easy, the Tshuva. We'll get to it when we get to it. Okay? But nevertheless, now let's go back to understanding. It still doesn't make sense. Everything we said. ואף על פי כן, and nevertheless, כל איש ישראל, every Jew, still, מוכן ומזומן, is willing, למסור נפשו, to give his life, על קדושת השם, on the sanctity of God, שלא להשתחוות לעבודה זרה, never to bow down to idols. What's the problem? Bow down and then what? And do tshuva. אפילו לפי שעה, even for 1 second. Even for 1 second, you're not willing. So you have a part of you that you're not willing to separate from God, even for 1 second. What's more difficult? To die for God or the stupid mitzvah that you're too lazy to do? What comes the evil inclination? The evil inclination, the ruach shtut. This folly says, don't worry about it. You're not cutting yourself from God. You are cutting yourself from God. It's not you're not, you are. ולעשות תשובה אחר כך, what's stopping him to do תשובה afterwards? Why is he giving his life? והיינו, and the reason is, מפני אור השם, it is because of the godly light, המלובש בנפשם כנזכר למעלה, that is dressed in their soul, like we mentioned above. And so this is the aspect that every Jew cannot go against God when it comes down to it. Every Jew, no matter what, in the end is going to say, I'm an atheist, but I'm a Jew. And this is where the jokes come around. Jokes are only funny if they're true. And I tell you a joke that comes around, and it's a very deep joke. There's a guy who came from Russia over here to America. And he came from a village in Russia, and he sent his kid to a public school over here in America. And the kid come back one day, back from school. So he asked the kid, what did you learn in school today? Oh, the kid says, today we talked about the Greeks and the Romans. So he says, what did you learn about the Greeks and the Romans? He says, we learned about many gods. We learned Apollo, we learned about Zeus, we learned about Aphrodite, whatever her name is. Yeah, and we learned about all the gods. So his father says, look, I'm only going to tell you this once. And remember this for your entire life. Yeah? You should know it. As a Jew coming from Russia over here, I'm telling you this, and you should remember this. There's only one God, and we don't believe in him. This is, by the way, the reason why it's funny, because it's true. You see the two aspects. He doesn't believe in God, and he's still There's nothing you can do about it. You can't.
He didn't even have to say, and
The-
we don't believe in him.
Yeah, there's only one.
God,
We don't believe in him. Yeah. שאינו בבחינת זמן ושעה כלל. Why? Because when it comes to this aspect, it has nothing to do with time. You don't tell your wife, you don't want your wife to cheat on you with another man. It's only for 5 seconds I cheated on you. After that I'm coming back. What do you? It doesn't work this way. What do you mean for 5 minutes? For 5 seconds you cheated? You cheated. You're out of the marriage. There's no such thing as I cheated a little bit. I got pregnant a little bit with another man's child. No, it doesn't work. You cheated. You're out of the marriage. It doesn't matter small. It doesn't matter large. It doesn't matter this. Ela למעלה מהזמן, it is above time. That's why he's not willing. You're not willing even for a millisecond. What do you mean? It's even for a millisecond one is not willing. It's above time. ושליט ומושל עליו כנודע. So this is about the positive commandments. The negative commandments, sorry. This is about the negative commandments. So when it comes to negative commandments, you can say to yourself, every time there's a negative commandment that comes into my hands, I'm not going to do it. Why? Because it goes against the marriage. And I'm willing to die for the marriage. I'm willing to die to stay married to God. So what kind of fool? If I'm willing to die to get married for God, this is much easier than dying. You know, who's telling me I'm still married? My spirit of folly tells me I'm still married. So all you have to do is to kick away the spirit of folly. Not to be a fool. Don't be a fool. It's like, you know what we sound like? Like a wife that comes back to her husband and he says, we only kissed. It was only a kiss. That's what we sound like. What do you mean it was only a kiss? What does it mean? It was only a kiss. It's if you're willing to only a kiss, it means you don't want me as your partner. And this is what we tell God. And a person would never say that to God. I don't want you as a partner. It's the spirit of folly that makes him say it. Yeah, it was only a kiss. No. Even for 1 second, not being with my husband is not worth it. Out of the marriage. So at the time of the kiss, we're exactly like cheating. The difference is that me and you and all of us, when we sin, we say, yeah, it was only a kiss. We can go back to the marriage. The truth is, we shouldn't be able to go back to the marriage. We just went against the marriage itself. Yeah? But we're going to discuss this. By the way, we're going to discuss about the dependencies on the wife. So when you say it depends on the wife, you're right to some extent. God forgives. The wife forgives. God forgives also if you cheat on him. So why don't you cheat on him?
Because you know it's wrong.
Because you are afraid to be out of the marriage even for 1 second. And over here, even though God forgives, and even though you can get back to you, you're afraid to be out of the marriage, even if for that second. You don't want to be out of the marriage. You're not willing. So I'm not going to go out of the marriage for no reason.
So our love of God comes from our genetic inheritance from Abraham, Isaac, and Isaac, Abraham, Isaac, and
Genetic and spiritual, both.
that's where
It's soul and body, yeah.
That's
That's right. Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah.
What about mitzvah? It's not a negative mitzvah.
Oh. And this is what is going to start now. The next class is going to be Vehen bebchinat ve'aseh tov. What about the positive commandments? That's what's going to be the next part. The next class is going to be about. I'll tell you what the difference is as an introduction for next class. It's going to be very good, very hard question to be answered. Negative commandment.
It's okay, I'm not murdering. That's fine. I don't know.
That's right.
I
Positive commandments, if you don't do a positive commandment, is as severe as a negative commandment. It's as severe. You're not helping as severe as a negative commandment. That's we're not talking about. But I'll tell you where the thing is. I went to Mincha, I davened, but I didn't daven 100%. Im kavana. But 99%. But 99%, not 100. You can still daven if you awaken the love of God, you can still daven and do every mitzvah 100%. And like the Alter Rebbe says, Ki karov elecha hadavar meod. Even us, people like us, can do that very, very easy. To daven to such an extent, it is very close to us. He's going to show us next time how it is even close to us to daven with kavana, not 50%, not 80%, not 90%, 100% every time we do a mitzvah. That's what he says. You remember, we're trying to become a Beinani. A Beinani does it 100% every time. He says it's very close to you. To whom?
100%.
What?
Benoni to 100%.
Beinani does it 100%. So, and this is what Moshe says, it's close to you. He's shouting at you. How is it close to me? I see, negative commandments is easy. I just contemplate, I'm out of the marriage. And it's not hard to contemplate it. A person who really thinks about it, every time there's a trial, or every time there's an opportunity to do a mitzvah, he's going to do the mitzvah. He's going to do the trial. He doesn't want to be out of the marriage. He's afraid to disconnect himself from God. But a positive commandment? Come on. I'm doing it. It's not a big deal. And that's what we're going to cover, B'ezrat Hashem, next week.
What's kavanah? Passion or?
Kavanah means meanings. You think intent. Thank you. Intent. Intent is the best word. Intent is.
So the severity of